The New Orleans Saints have two big events taking place over the next 4 days. Sunday, they travel to Los Angeles, where Saints rookie quarterback Tyler Shough makes his first ever NFL start versus the Rams. Follow that with the NFL trade deadline on Tuesday. In today's show, we preview that Sunday matchup versus the Rams, and then we're going to make a case why the Saints should move some of their veteran players on Tuesday, one wide receiver in particular. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. Saints are going to travel to Los Angeles, face the Rams on Sunday. Look, the Los Angeles Rams are a great NFL example of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sean McVay's going on his ninth year, and the who, coaching staff, players, personnel, everything, that changes over naturally. But the way they do things, why they want to do it, how they want to do it, what they're going to do, not real big from over the last 9 years. And one kind of change that actually happened was the defense. Their current defensive coordinator is Chris Shula. He's been there 9 years. He showed up with Sean McVay, worked his way up through the staff, and this is his second year as defensive coordinator. Runs see if this sounds familiar, 3-4, kind of ruled base, multiple front defense in a Vic Fangio style. Heavy zone coverage. You're going to see cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. We're going to have some man matchups in there, some pattern matchups on routes, but for the most part, going to try to show you something pre-snap and then do something completely different post-snap. That's the short version of it. Over here in the corner, I'll put a link to my video from over the summer with Cooper Kupp where it breaks down extensively. And the reason why we did it, it's the exact same defense Brandon Staley's running. And that's really the one major, I guess you could say, major change that happened as far as scheme. Wade Phillips was the defensive coordinator at first there for a few years, running a more traditional 3-4 style defense for McVay. When he retired, Brandon Staley got the job in 2020. That's Brandon Staley's defense still. Now, he was only there 1 year left to take the Chargers job. Raheem Morris came in for the next 3 seasons. He left to take a head coaching job. Shula got the defense coordinator spot in 2024. But it's Brandon Staley's defense, but not Brandon Staley's defense. In the same manner that Brandon Staley's defense is Vic Fangio's defense, but it's not Vic Fangio's defense. Meaning it's very flexible, fluid, and it tends to, even though everybody in the NFL is, or almost everybody in the NFL is now changing to this style of defense, they are still different as you move from one to the other because each coach is going to kind of put their own signature on it. But more importantly, it's kind of a defense that is made to be adjustable to the personnel you have, the personnel you're going to bring in, plus the personnel you're going to face in the scheme and style you're going to face every week from the offensive side of your opponent. So it's the same, yet completely different. But you're going to be basically familiar with some of the stuff they're going to do. The similar parts that kind of carry over, how it's called, how it's schemed is going to be subtly different from coach to coach. And it seems like Shula, all the coaches he's worked for on the defensive side, he's got a little bit of something kind of mixed in there with it. And that's how he's going to run it and play call it. So it's familiar yet different. The problem is, I don't care how familiar you feel like you are with it, what you're not familiar with is, to me, a beastly, scary, extremely talented defensive line that they have. I don't think you can argue it's one of the best in the NFL, but it could possibly be the best in the NFL. It's up there with whoever else is in contention. Man, they bring pressure, and they're pretty good against the run while they're doing it. But pressure, their pressure rate is off the charts, and they get home. Defensive edge players, Young and Verse, kind of their two primary guys, 9 and 4 sacks respectively. They've got a rookie, Josiah Stewart's come off the I don't want to say off the bench. He's in the rotation. Also, he's got 2 sacks. Your interior guys, Kobe Turner, Puna Ford. I'm sorry, Turner has 1.5. Puna Ford and Tyler Davis each have 1, and they've got this guy named Braden Fisk that if you've never watched him play, he's pretty dang good too. Doesn't have any, but he's still somebody you're going to have to deal with. That's a 7-man rotation right there on that defensive line, not counting anybody else they may work into the rotation. And these guys, 6 of them are combining for 18.5 sacks over 7 games, roughly 2.5 a game. You kick in linebacker Nate Landman's 1.5, and they're, by the way, 2 very good safeties, Cameron Curl and Quentin Lake, each have 1. You got 22 sacks in 3 sacks a game, and they can bring pressure from anywhere, anybody, at any time. And it's scary to have our offensive line having to deal with that with a rookie quarterback behind him. Quite honestly, that's the reason why I was surprised Tyler Shough's getting the start this week, facing that beastly offensive line with the ability to bring pressure from other spots on the defense. And they get home an awful lot. 22 sacks, 7 games. By the way, Landman, Curl, and Lake are also their top 3 tacklers. They can cover somewhat, and they can definitely tackle. Great run support. And what I mean cover by somewhat, you might get them a little bit, but you don't get a lot of big plays on them. You're going to have to grind it most of the time when you're dealing with them, and it's tough to do. Their defense, for that reason, and kind of looking at our offense compared to their defense, when you're talking about total yards, they rank 13th in the NFL on defense. They're in the middle, sliding towards the top 10. They give up 314 roughly a game, 314.1. Our offense is 27th in the league at 295 yards per game. Passing, they're 14th. Rushing, they're 14th. 208 in passing, 105 in rushing, and I'm junking the decimal places after it. We're 22nd in passing, barely over 200 at 201.4. We're 28th now after the Tampa Bay game, where we didn't run the ball at all. We're 28th at 93.6. And we don't bring enough offense to begin with to face, while they're not the best defense in the NFL, they're one of the more balanced defenses in the NFL. When you're talking about 13th overall and they're 14th against the pass, 14th against the rush. They may not be overwhelmingly strong in the sense of the yardage they give up. They still don't give up a lot in either one. You got to work for it. You're going to have to show up on offense and work for it. And this is the biggest where I can almost give you a game prediction right now going, I do not see how our offense is going to be able to do much against that defense, especially when you're looking at the front and the hit or missness of our offensive line. And the fact that we were okay against Tampa Bay, who not quite as good and was missing Hassan Reddick, one of their top edge guys, although Nelson filled in wonderfully. But when we missed, when there was, in the video that I broke down with Nelson getting a free run, and at other times, players getting near free runs or getting some serious pressure and penetration, the Rams do it better. And they get home off that pressure a lot more. So you're looking at, if you pull that same stuff you pulled against Tampa Bay against these guys, Tyler Shough is going to get hit hard and often. Or whoever's taking snaps back there, or whoever's trying to run the ball. So serious concerns about our ability to handle the front four, not even count the other really good players they got playing behind them. And they have depth from the defensive line to the defensive backfield and every spot in between, where they've got players that can come off the bench, play well, and make plays. You look at scoring. We're 29th in the league at 16 a game. They're third. They only give up 16.7 a game. I doubt we can hit our 16 point per game average. We will need some superhuman efforts, I think, from not only Tyler Shough and the offensive line, but some of the other players out there. This is just not a good matchup for us. Our offense considered defense, and we're throwing the rookie in the mix while we're doing it. So, welcome to the NFL, rookie. If you can play well in this game, you'll turn my head and a lot of other heads around the NFL. Red zone scoring, we're 42.9%. They're tied for first in the NFL. They only allow 40%. Third down efficiency, we're 17. We've actually been getting better steadily at 17th overall at 38.8%. They're tied for fourth in the NFL with 34%, holding teams at 34%. Not good matchups at all. The margins are not in our favor in anywhere in this when you're looking at the numbers. So, bottom line is, I don't see how we can generate much offense in this game. I really, really don't. Normally, when you talk about the Rams, and we're going to talk about their offense in a second, that's what everybody focuses on. They kind of forget about steady, balanced defense that, like I said, they make you work for yards. They make you work to protect your quarterback. They make you work to get space for your running backs. And when you get in the red zone, they really make you work to try to score points. And the last thing you want to do is get in third and we don't care if you try to run the ball. We're going to rush you passer situations because your passer is going to be in for a nightmare scenario if that keeps happening. So, hate to break the bad news for anybody who was really excited about, well, hey, let's see what Shough can do. Maybe this is a spark. It's a tough, tough defense to expect that from. The good news is if we get it, that says a lot about our rookie quarterback, in my opinion. I'm just sorry, just can't give you high hopes for it. So, in a bit of more good news, let's talk about the Rams' offense against our defense. Head coach Sean McVay, 9 years. It's his baby. He's the guy. He still calls plays from the sideline. I at times I look at Sean McVay on their sideline and I see a young and up and coming Sean Payton, just very similar, not necessarily in personalities. Way he calls games, the way he runs offense, the way he can just manipulate you without you almost being helpless to stop him from doing it. Very, very good at his job. Last time we ran into a guy like this was Josh McDaniels, and then right after that we got to see Ben Johnson, and he is of the same style that very again similar to what a lot goes on in the NFL offense, but completely different with his stamp and style and his play calling attached to it. And it's a West Coast offense. They're very balanced. They're going to use zone blocking schemes, mostly wide and inside, and can tailor that offense before the game, during the game, and at the very end of the game to fit whatever he needs to get done. Been always very good with working with his offensive line and his protection. Also, this year there seems to be a little more gap and power running that he sprinkled into it just to keep kind of putting a twist on things and making defense's life miserable. Um, they're going to go short to intermediate passing, mostly play action, misdirection, lots of eye candy. Ben Johnson, like that we saw in Chicago that we kept falling for in the run game, he more daggers you with it in the passing game, and he's killed us with it in the past. Yeah, expect nothing different coming here. You're going to see very much similar stuff. You better stay disciplined. You better know your assignments because he's going to use all kind of motions at you, and his receivers are going to get open as a result of it if you don't stay disciplined and stay in communication with each other. It's always been extremely flexible offense on what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. And I think he's more about the pass. Again, kind of like Sean Payton in the early years, more about the pass than the run. But make no mistake about it. Kyron Williams, he's had games where he's been like, all right, we're just going to feed the running game because it's working so well. We're struggling to throw the ball and we'll win it that way. And he'll do it. Kyron Williams, big time running back, one of their studs. Matthew Stafford, getting up there in age, but still a very good quarterback you don't want to play around with. You don't want to give him time, and you don't want to let him really be able to figure out what you're doing. He's going to distribute the ball to the right people, and they're going to make plays. two of which are Devontae Adams, who seems ageless at this point and has done in the last couple of years. I've not watched a lot of him play, but in reading about it, he's made very good adjustments to working against more of these Vic Fangio zone-based style offenses, and he seems to have the numbers to support it. So, and then who's healthy and is going to play against us and make our life miserable? They're really their top guy, probably on the whole offense, is Puka Nakua. And you got a lot to deal with coming at you in that offense. And oh, by the way, they have a pretty good offensive line, and one of their top guys, haven't signed, has been hurt. He's expected back too. And like their defense, this is a very good constructed roster by Les Snead. It's got depth. Guys go down. They've got guys to fill in, make plays, and pretty good football players. So again, a lot to deal with that offense. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's a very similar situation. Now, our defense surprisingly has been putting up pretty decent numbers for the most part, helped out in the last couple of games. The run game against Chicago was horrible, but they held the passing game down. They did a pretty good job of holding the Tampa Bay offense down last week. But I don't know how real it is because you're about ready to get tested to find out how real it is. The Rams, number 6 overall offense in the NFL, about 360 a game. We give up 320 a game. We're 15th. Our defense is basically right behind the Rams defense in a lot of these numbers. One of the slight differences, we're 9th, which surprised me. I didn't realize we had climbed in the top 10, giving up only 196, less than 200 yards passing a game. They're 3rd in the NFL at 256.7 a game. They run for 103.4 a game. That's 22, but they're still getting over 100 yards in 4 quarters. Very much complementary to what they want to do in the passing game. And they can really if he wants to lean on that running game, which he will do, that play action is really going to open up. And Stafford is very good at operating under play action with 2 dangerous receivers that you can't bite on the run. You better defend. We give up 124 a game in rushing. Again, the margins not really in our favor. I think the big one is the passing. We hold them under 200, and we hold them under 200 without giving up 200 plus rushing. Maybe you hold that offense down some, but it's going to be a tough ask. Scoring, they're tied for 11th in the NFL, which I found surprising with as much offense as they bring. They're only averaging 25 a game. We're giving up 26.1 a game. Their red zone efficiency, they're 17th, which is also surprising. They're normally not that 56.7 is necessarily bad. They're normally better than that. Our red zone defense, 57.7%, 11th in the NFL. So kind of right on the margins there between the two. And again, that's counting field goals. If you want to break this down by touchdowns, I know you've heard me say this before, but this is yet another game. We tend to kick more field goals in red zone against a team that tends to score more touchdowns. A recipe for disaster. It's happening again this week. We've got to score touchdowns, and we got to keep them to hold them to field goals. Third down, we're 12th at defending at a 36.8%. They're 21st. Again, kind of surprising for them. 37.7 in converting. So the margins there are a little tighter. That offense is a little tighter. But again, I get the feeling of a New England game more so than the Ben Johnson Chicago game because New England killed us with the pass. Johnson killed us with the run. McVay can probably kind of do either. He's pass first guy, and he brings a very good pass offense in here. And those young DBs, when they got to the eye candy and the route combinations and all the stuff going on with a good quarterback and Drake May thrown in a good receiving core, we struggled mightily. And I'm just afraid you're going to see that again. Hopefully not. We've learned a lesson and grown up, but you're going to have the same problems with the offensive style and scheme and the play caller with a good receiving core and a good quarterback. Only thing that may be in our favor if we can actually get some pressure on him because he doesn't move like Drake May, and we can get him down into some long sacks, long third downs. If we can get early sacks and early downs when they're throwing it, and get a little more into that third down efficiency number that they have, maybe you can get them to punt the ball and get it back. But you don't do that. Let them keep short chains the whole game. It's gonna be a long day. I think it's gonna be a long day. This is a matchup I've been dreading for weeks now. Not talking about it, looking at what we've been doing and knowing what they do what they do. So like I said, they don't. It ain't broke. Don't fix it. They don't necessarily make wholesale sale changes. They just kind of do what they do. And if they're doing it well, good luck dealing with it and stopping it. And they're a better team than we are, and that's just the bottom line. I mean, they scored 25 and we give up 26. I think that's the telltale right there because honestly, if they're clicking on all cylinders, and I don't see any reason why they won't be, because most teams have been against us except for maybe Tampa Bay last week. They're going to put up that 25 plus. And like I said earlier, scoring 16, I don't know. I am mighty afraid that you're going to give up. We only gave up one offensive touchdown last week. You're going to give up multiple this week. And there's a good chance our offense will not find its way into the end zone for the second game in a row. I could easily see this being like a 28-6 game, very similar to Tampa Bay, but possibly worse because they're healthier than Tampa Bay, and they might even just be a better team on top of that. I'm going to predict 28-6. We'll see how it turns out, but I just don't have high hopes for the Saints or Tyler Shough or the defense or anyone else involved in this game this week. So if you notice on the rundown sheet, I'm using trading Rashid Shaheed as an example of what we need to do come Tuesday. And I think he's a good example because there may be a possibility of it happening. And as much as I'd hate to see him go, if the deal is good, if you're Mickey, you got to take it. And I'm a little worried about that based on some comments Mickey made 2 weeks ago. We'll kind of get to that towards the end. But when you look at Shaheed, he's in his final year this year, 2025. He's got void years in 2026 and 2027, but there's no money on it. It's only dead money that the Saints use those 2 void years to do some cap gymnastics. He's a free agent as soon as 2025 ends, as of right now. Because of that, 3 things this offseason that you got to keep in mind. He is a free agent at the end of 2025. He's going to be 28 in August. So this is likely his one and only chance to get a multi-year big receiver type deal. And I think legitimately he's a 1A type receiver. He's the guy that blows the top off defenses, make big plays, but we've seen him last year and this year a little bit when he can kind of take over a game and catch some balls too in the intermediate space and make a few plays for you. So I think his development is there, and a lot of teams I do believe are interested in trading because, and I'm going to use Adam Schefter from the Pat McAfee show as a source, but this stuff has been making the rounds for a while now. Schefter was on the other day and talking about it, that there seems to be 3 teams that are really, really interested. The Bills, who currently second in the AFC East, 5-2, have Josh Allen. Steelers, currently first in the AFC North, 4-3. Got this guy named Aaron Rodgers. The Broncos, first in the AFC West, 6-2. Got this guy named Bo Nixon. Oh, Sean Payton, the coach there, was the coach when Shaheed was first brought in and started making his mark with the Saints. One thing you got to add in there, whenever you're talking about dealing with any Saints players, is the dead money on the end of that contract. That's why the void years are there. And unlike most players we have where it's in the millions or not tens of millions of dollars, Shaheed, it's about $500,000. So move it on from him, no matter how it happens. If it happens, $500,000 is a drop in the bucket to the situation the Saints always have going on with their salary cap. It's not really relevant, except to point out that it's not relevant. Saints are reportedly asking for at least a third rounder, and especially since they gave up a fourth for Devon Vele. Great time. Let's talk about Devon Vele. 89 snaps, pass receiving snaps. He's received in 8 games, so about 11 a game with the Saints. With those snaps, he has 5 catches for 39 yards. Those 5 catches happen to be 4 for first downs. 2, I know for a fact, were third long conversion catches for first. 1 last week. The 5th was a touchdown, and he's also drawn a couple of defense pass interference calls. I like Valet. I've been championing Valet since we traded for him. I've been championing him in the videos we're doing when he handful of these plays that they actually throw the ball to him when he's making plays we need made. The reason why I bring that up is because your top 3 receivers, technically, they're all clones of each other. And no disrespect to any of them, but Olave, Cooks, and Shaheed, we've been talking about this since they signed Cooks. They're kind of all the same guy. They're the same type of receiver. It's going to be really hard to make that work. And I think it's been really hard to make that work. Making a little room in that receiver room with Avele, who you gave up a 4th, get his shot in there to go, hey, let's go let him be a big physical chain moving red zone target on the outside of receiver and see how that stimulates the offense. And let's see if that helps out our quarterbacks having a target like that available and out there. Rattler seemed to use him whenever he had him available to convert third downs. That's a story. So logically, it makes sense, but it's you don't give Shaheed away. You make that clear as day. You do not give him away. That third round, a second day pick, in other words, because if 3 teams are really hot and heavy for him because they need that blow the top off guy, could you get more? Maybe, but you can't take less. But you got to recoup some draft picks. You only have 5 in 2026. And right now, we're 1-7. It ain't happening. Get the young players in. That's another reason why to make a move like this and bring Valet onto the field. But recoup some draft capital. Regardless of where we draft, we could be first overall. However it works out, you want draft capital, whether you're going to use it to draft or you're going to use it as part of reasons to trade up, trade down, whatever's going on. The more you have, the more options you're available during this rebuild. Look how teams like Washington and others in recent years have been able to sell at the deadline, grab some draft capital, and retool their team a lot quicker than people were expecting. Yes, drafting a high profile quarterback is part of that. And that may be an option on the table, but you've got to find out everything you need to see for the rest of the season and have some options available to do something about it in 2026. So even if you can't get a day 2 pick for Shaheed, if you want to give me a 2025 4th with some other 2025 day 3 picks and something in 2026, if you can make a nice little package of multiple picks, I might be able to live with that because I want the draft capital. But I ain't giving him away, him or anybody else. Trading away offensive personnel, there is a pickle to this. While you're trying to develop a young quarterback and now a rookie quarterback, since you've given him the starting job, that gets sketchy. So you can't do it, I don't think, with everyone. You can't we've got holes. You can't make them bigger or create a new one somewhere where you didn't have one and expect this evaluation process to be worth a darn. I get all that, but at the same time, again, if you have the ability to grab some draft capital and make some adjustments, you gotta take a chance on it. Oh, before we get to Mickey, one other thing. I do want to acknowledge in the trade rumor mill, and that's what it is, a trade rumor mill, and a lot of this may be made up. Another reason why I wanted to use Shaheed as an example of what we need to do if we can do it and why is the Schefter on Pat McAfee recently talking about it, going, pretty credible. Some of these, I don't know if they're credible or not, but I see these names so often. I don't know. Be prepared, maybe. But Granderson, Ruiz, Radens, Werner, 4 of the ones, and especially the last couple of days on Twitter, I see keep popping up. And not to mention any veterans who may be close to retiring. You're not bringing back in free agency, that they're all in the last year of their deal because almost all of them got restructured this year, which means they're very tradable. They have a minimum salary right now, so whoever's trading for them ain't picking up a big chunk of money. And the dead money that they all have, which is massive, a hell of a lot more than Shaheed's, We can take part of it this year and take the remainder in 2026. You can do all that anyway once they retire. You don't re-sign them. It hits you all in 26, and you get no compensation for it. So I don't care who it is. Somebody wants to give me a 7th-round pick for Cam Jordan. I love Cam. I want him to retire as a Saint, but sorry, in the situation we're in, I'm probably taking that. So just to clear that up, there are other players around, and even if it's not necessarily Shaheed, but some of these other guys that fit into those categories, as long as they're not young players, and if they are young players, make them overpay. Talking about guys like Brzee and all that, are good. Alante Taylor, who are on their first contract. Taylor's actually going to be a free agent. We need to re-sign him. He could pop up on that trade deadline talk because of that if we can't, as an example. But the same thing. Get value. Make sure you get value for them. You do not give them away. And what I mean by value is you want to sit there and go, oh, you got to give me a 2nd-round pick or nothing, and end up bringing that guy back for the remainder of the year and then losing him in the offseason is ridiculous. Like I said, you got to take a bundle of packages. Do that. Just make sure you get value. And it concerns me that Mickey Loomis's comments a couple of weeks ago in that interview with Mike Hoss, the one where he used the word development or a variation of it 18 times talking about this season, did pass a comment that I caught, but I don't think a lot of people have really talked about that. Essentially, I got to paraphrase it, that they're not in the business of trading good football players. You might need to be, Mickey. Things are not going well and you're needing to build for the future. And you have to weigh how much value is that player still going to have on this team or for this team. 2 years, but we're 3 years away from being where we need to be. That's where you are in the business of making that trade. Go get some more value to speed this up. More draft picks, however it's going to work out, you have more room to maneuver. You're giving up an asset now that, yeah, it has a nice payout, but it's limited. It's only got a couple years left. To get assets that are going to pay out over 5, 6 years, pay dividends, make the team better, try to get us back to the playoffs. I understand this can be very personal. I mean, even using Shaheed as an example, and I think a prime one, if the deal is right, again, you've got to make it with him. I love Shaheed. I love Cam Jordan. I love Demario Davis. I love most of the Saints players. I really, really do. Don't want to see him go for the most part. But it's not personal. It really is business. It really is an investment into the future of the franchise. And Mickey, if you need to make one of these trades to reinvest, so again, we have a higher payout over a longer period of time in the future. I know it's risky, but actually you are in the business of doing that. You're the GM. You need to make the team better. That's one of the ways how you do it. So that's what we got for you today. Um, I'm going to give you the hard prediction. I'm not sure I made the prediction early or hard. I'm going to go 28-6, but I fear it's going to be worse than that. We'll see on the recap next week. And then film room, we'll have more on the trade deadline. We'll see what happens. So it's going to be a big week next week for us too. So hope you're going to be here to enjoy it with me. And one of the ways to do that is just go ahead, give me a like, a share, subscribe, hit the notifications. That way, when they pop up, and still trying to hold to that Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule through the week, through the season, we'll have it out for you next week. You can tune in and we can talk our favorite subject, the New Orleans Saints. Also, the Cooper Kupp video where he talks about the Staley type Vic Fangio defenses for the refresher. I really do need to go rewatch that again. So I think I'm going to do it as soon as I finish this. I'm going to stick it over here on the end screen right there. Just click on it. It'll take you right to it. So till I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.